Good day to you all. It's your IELTS tutor Jack, and welcome back to another episode of the IELTS Plus English podcast. Well, firstly, I want to start by saying welcome to all the new listeners. There's been a lot of growth on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the different platforms, so welcome everyone. And of course, welcome back to all my current listeners. I appreciate you all. Because there are so many students in all these different places, I just want to mention there are subtitles available on the YouTube videos, which I have checked. I've written the subtitles and they are checked and correct. So, if you want kind of a script with this podcast, it is available on YouTube. And of course, to all my YouTubers, the ones watching the video, you can listen on all the other podcast platforms such as Spotify or Apple. So with that out of the way, we have another fairly comfortable subject today. We're going through a really good period. I feel like it's a bit of a golden period for the podcast because the subjects have been so nice. So today's lifestyle and leisure. Now, the thing I notice when I look at this handout is there's some wonderful vocabulary. I really like today's list of 10 vocabulary and expressions. By the way, you know where to find it, www.jacks-english.com. But I really do like this list. And I want to pick one of the words or one of the expressions now because it's quite an interesting one for me. And I want to hear about you. The word is guilty pleasure. What is a guilty pleasure? A guilty pleasure is something you enjoy, even though it's probably not good for you, or perhaps it's a little bit embarrassing that you enjoy it. Normally it's related to something being unhealthy, but you enjoy it. So let me tell you my guilty pleasure first. I would say my guilty pleasure is eating very, very spicy chicken, watching a movie, and then finishing it with some chocolate ice cream. Now, it's not healthy at all. It's probably not a good habit, but when I'm stressed, that is perfect. That is a guilty pleasure. So what I want you to do today is, if you are on YouTube, please leave a comment below. Tell me, what is your guilty pleasure? And with that, we will start our IELTS questions. I'm going to warm up with some part 1. And let's do the first question, which is as follows. What do you do in your spare time? In my free time, I do a number of activities. I like reading. I like exercising, particularly running and walking. I try to do a variety of things, and most of the things I do are related to sort of learning or upgrading myself because I find that really enjoyable. How do you usually spend your weekends? I work on Saturdays, so unfortunately I have no choice there. I just have to work. And then on Sundays, I like to spend time ideally at home or around my area with my family. I love going to the park with my daughter and seeing her explore things. And for me, again, reading a book, watching Netflix, that kind of thing. Well, this is a lovely start. Very easy. Let's do our part 2 for today. Our part 2 is describe a leisure activity you do with your family. Okay, so as usual, not prepared. I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock and use my structure to tackle this question. So 2 minutes starts now. I'd like to tell you about hiking. When I was young, I started hiking probably very young, maybe about 6 or 7 years old. And I really enjoyed it. I used to do hiking with my father. We would go to the Lake District, the Peak District. These are famous national parks in England. And we would go for quite long distance hikes, hostel to hostel, no camping. I think that would be more challenging. And we had a great time and a lot of memories from that. So let me tell you a little more about hiking. For me, hiking normally is done within one day, though I have a lot of experience doing multi-day trips. An example of that is something called the Coast to Coast, which I did when I was 11 years old, I think. The Coast to Coast is a walk from the west coast of England to the east coast of England, and it takes 2 weeks. And yeah, there's no break, there's no car, you just have to walk place to place. Nowadays, I live in Korea, so I don't do the same kind of hiking as I did before. And I don't do it with my family so much because my daughter is too young. But I'd really like to get her into hiking, and I am planning to buy a bag so that I can carry her while hiking. For me personally, hiking is a way to relieve stress. It's a way to get exercise. And perhaps most importantly, just be amongst nature, trees, mountains. I really do love spending time in those kinds of areas. In the future, I hope to do, as I said, hiking with my daughter. I really hope it's her future hobby. Okay, 2 minutes. I think that went quite well. I was happy with my answer. I was very clear. And with that, I think we'll just move on. We'll go to part 3. So here's where we go to more sort of society level answers rather than personal. First one, why is it important for people to have time for leisure activities? I think certainly people around me have a very hectic lifestyle at work and can be quite sedentary at home. This means I think when it comes to being sedentary, it is important to have leisure activities in order to get you out and get you doing something. Now, of course, it's fine to have a sedentary lifestyle and to read books, but I think by having different leisure activities, particularly active ones, it gets you out of the house and it gets you doing things. Do men and women enjoy the same type of leisure activities? I think they do. I think they really, I don't see many barriers between certain leisure activities. There are leisure activities that seem to be preferred by certain genders. For example, I do know women who do candle making as a leisure activity, but I don't know any men. But that could be just amongst the people I know. So I don't think there's many barriers, and I think certainly physically women can do whatever men can do. I have female friends who do boxing, for example. I think the important thing is, as I said, people have a hectic lifestyle. They need a way to wind down, maybe after work or from whatever their activity is. And so I think there's no barriers. Okay. We're going to go to our last one, which is a part 3 again. And I am going to try and put some of these words in, some of the words from today's list of 10. So let's see. If you had a child, what leisure activities would you do together? Now, before I answer this, okay, so this is not the answer, but please notice something called a trigger word in the question. In this case, the trigger word, it's would. As soon as you hear would, you're going to be talking about a hypothetical. This is not reality, this is imagined. So please listen to how I answer this because they are asking me a hypothetical. If I had a child, I would do a number of leisure activities together. By the way, I do have a child, but let's just, in this hypothetical, let's talk about them as an older child rather than a toddler, as my daughter is. Okay, so I would definitely do hiking. I think that hiking is a very fulfilling activity, particularly mountain climbing. The fulfilling part comes from getting to the top of the mountain, particularly. I don't want my daughter to feel cooped up at home. So I really want to make sure we have leisure activities outside. I think it's really important to get outside, get active, and be amongst nature. That's important for me. I won't insist that on my daughter, but that's important for me. So if I had an older child who could be more active, I would try to get outside and do hiking together. So there you go. That's my answer to the hypothetical. As I said, you've got to listen for the trigger word would, and you've got to make sure you use it in your answer. For me, it was tricky because I do have a child, so it is reality, but I just changed it so that I'm talking about my child being older. Great. Easy one today. I felt good about that. I hope you did too. I hope you understood everything. Of course, get on my website, www.jax-english.com. If you're on YouTube, give me a like. If you're on your podcast platform, please do whatever you can do to show me you're enjoying this. I really appreciate that. And I hope you have a fantastic week this week. Study hard. There's lots to study. And let's meet again next week to talk about money. Oh, wonderful subject next week. Okay, have a good week and see you soon. Bye-bye.